that's sort of the beauty of I've never seen an amp do shit like that. So that's why effects pedals are cool. And then next coming up is the most important part of electric guitar is dirt pedals. I don't know about you guys, but I rarely ever play clean. It's maybe for an intro, I guess. So naturally, I have a lot of dirt pedals. The way I sort of describe my dirt pedals is basically I have my Van Halen in a box, as I mentioned. Then I have my Dirty Little Secret, which is basically like a Marshall in a box. Just sort of like, basically what I look at for distortion pedals, because I don't use amp distortion ever. Those two pedals basically become my bass. I use, because as I mentioned, I have basically distortion pedals on all the time. The way I look at sort of dirt pedals in general is I look at them as sort of like a base for my tone. It's the starting point. So generally, I'll sort of have one pedal on all the time, and then I'll use my volume knob to clean up. Yeah, so that's my bass, and then from there, I go into more distortion pedals. The Timmy here is basically what's called an overdrive pedal. If you guys don't know what an overdrive pedal is, it's basically like a distortion pedal.
Which one is that?
This guy right here. A lot of the names of pedals, like and how they sort of talk about what a pedal does, it's sort of confusing. Basically, of all the ones that add distortion, there's distortion, overdrive, and fuzz. And there's I guess you could also say a clean boost as well, but that's sort of an overdrive as well. But I mean, circuit-wise, they're usually pretty much identical. They use sort of the same. They use the same circuit sort of geometry when they design the pedal. They don't really, like electrical engineers-wise, they're pretty much the same thing. They all do sort of the same thing. But when we talk about what they do, that's how the names come from. Distortion pedals, fuzz pedals, and overdrive pedals. Overdrive pedals generally are less gain than a distortion pedal. So you got this guy. And an overdrive pedal is just sort of like a blues pedal. But an overdrive pedal, his other use is to sort of mimic basically a pedal, an amp that's sort of turned up, and it's basically the tubes in it are starting to work harder, and they're starting to basically create like a natural overdrive. And basically it's just, these tubes are distorting. A lot of times overdrive pedals are designed to help tubes.
The way you've got that hooked up, is that overdriving your distortion signal then?
This guy right here is basically like an overdrive pedal, yeah.
But it's overdriving that signal, so it's the way you got it looped, okay.
Yeah, so basically we're going backwards, so it's basically going through here, all the way through here. And I did ignore the tuner. That's the tuner. I'll explain why I have it there. Because basically I have here to the amp, and then it goes from here to here to here to here to here to here to here. And then I think I go to here to here to here to here to here to here. But I'll explain that in a second. I have a really good reason as why I have the tuner last after all the distortions. But the reason I sort of point out overdrives versus distortions is because this sort of gets into the game of stacking distortions and overdrives and fuzzes. And this is a huge sort of thing I see with like kids getting into pedals and stuff like that. They think that you can only use one at a time, and that drives me crazy. Because this is the fun part of pedals. I mean, it's finding pedals that work together in a way that sort of nobody else has done before or makes the sound that you want. So what I'll do a lot of times is I'll have my bass distortions, so like the Elements here, which is the Van Halen, or the Led Zeppelin, which is the... And then I'll use the overdrive pedal to make more. So it just basically kicks up the dirty little secret more. Adds more gain, more output, and
good lead channel.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what a lot of the times I'll do for my FX pedals is I'll have the dirty little secret on for like my rain rhythm sound, and then I'll basically hit the tune. So it's all about stacking. Stacking is fun. I mean, like you can do like the Elements here, get like So with those sort of combinations, you can really get a lot of different tones. I mean, like, I just went to like blues, to like Van Halen, to like super shred stuff. I mean, I'm using the wrong guitar for this. It's a little bit of a noisy bitch when I use
You don't run a noise gate out of that?
I'm not the biggest fan of noise gates. I mean, for different applications for different things. I'm a fan of noise gates for getting rid of feedback and basically sort of clamp, because the way a noise gate works is it basically clamps when it detects no signal. So for when you're running a lot of gain, you're doing like metal stuff or something like that, having a noise gate is awesome because it basically clamps in between your palm mutes or whatever, and you can sort of have a little bit of like more of a cleanness. But for getting rid of noise, and I am going to go through this once we go through the pedal, I would rather use higher quality cable. I'd rather figure out any kind of power issues that I have with powering the pedal board, and using the proper kind of guitar, which I use for most of my higher gain stuff. I'll use my Destroyer back there, which is hum canceling, so you're not going to have the 60 cycle hum. Yeah. But I find with using noise gates for just getting rid of hum, it's sort of like attacking a problem without getting to the root of the issue. It's sort of like I can't think of the saying, but it's sort of adding something that you should just be looking at the initial problem. It's sort of like putting a blanket over your issue.
Perfume on a pig? No.
Nailed it!
There
Fuck
it is.
yeah!
Send it to Pro Tools.
I guess But even just switching guitars, I was gonna switch to this one anyway. This is like my dream guitar.
It's a beauty.
Huge fan of Explorers when I was a kid. And I didn't think I would ever use one live, but it sounds good. But even just switching guitars. So it's a little noisy. But using the proper guitar for the application is really important. Obviously, we can't have a guitar that does everything, so